I know, right? That happened when before we started in the power wash, but she didn't know she didn't. What?
Okay, folks, let's get this blue wave moving. Is everybody ready? I just want to welcome everybody for coming to today's rally, for the candidates to be here and to speak on behalf of not just Tracy, but the people here in District 23. We need someone that's going to run that represents us, not the deep pockets of special interest groups. So you've got to get your friends out there and vote. To start off, I just want to say the rally is sponsored today by NY23 United. They comprise of about 30 organizations that are active that want to help take back this district and work for the people here. So please stay, enjoy the rally, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dora, who's going to come up and speak.
All right, so I think we need to get started with a chant. How do you think? Yes?
Yeah.
All right, so I want you to repeat after me. This is our moment.
This is our moment.
Come on, we need Reed and Corning to hear you. This is our moment.
This is our moment.
One more time, real loud.
This is our moment.
So this is indeed our moment. And I have to say, you know, looking back over the last 18 months, 2016 hit me hard. I have to say that it was probably one of the darkest moments that I can remember. And, you know, when I get down, I'm a teacher, so I look to history and I look to literature, and I'm reminded by a quote from C.S. Lewis. And he says, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. And I have to tell you, I've seen ordinary people do extraordinary things over the last 18 months. It all started with a bunch of people just wanting to be heard. Meeting in front of the congressman's office week after week, just saying, listen to us. And despite the name calling, despite being ignored, despite being labeled, we came back week after week, in rain, in snow, in construction, and we continued to be heard. And there were people who, for the first time in their life, stepped out of their bubble and said, enough, I will be heard. So look at us. We've been heard. We've been noticed. So this campaign season, we started with 11 candidates on the Democratic ticket. 11. It was enough for 11 people to stand up and say, I've had enough. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to do something. And I've gotten to know each and every one of those 11 candidates, specifically the 5 that made the ballot. And they have given their heart, their soul, their time, their energies, and it was almost impossible to pick one. They were just so fantastic. But we did. So now where are we? Now we're at a point where, like I said before, we link arms. We roll up our sleeves, we get together, and we get behind Tracy, who's down behind me. We get behind Tracy because she can do it. Yeah. She is not only smart, she's brave, she's intelligent, she's fearless, and she's compassionate. And she listens. This is the type of candidate, this is the type of leader that we must have. Now, I know we're going to hear, can we win? Can we do it? And I'm going to say to you now, look to the right of you, look to the left. Those are the people that are going to make this happen. These are the people that are going to make it happen. So, I want to get you going, and I want you to not only say this, I want you to feel it, I want you to believe it. I want you to repeat after me, and I'll say it first. I believe that we can win. I believe that we can win. I believe that we can win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. You need to believe that. There's going to be all kinds of attacks, but we are stronger. We are better. I want to end the way we always end, and then I'm going to introduce Peter. I want you to tell me who you are. the 23rd, and we will be heard. We are the 23rd, and we will be heard. And in November, we will be heard loud and clear. So, this is just so much fun. I'd like to, Megan, do I bring it back to you, or do I introduce Peter? All right, while I'm up here, I'd like to introduce a dear friend and a fellow extreme arrogant liberal, Peter Keenan.
Hello, everyone. For a lot of reasons, one of which I did get called an extreme liberal by Tom Reed, and ironically in the elementary school gym where I went to elementary school and where my children will go to elementary school. So for that and among other reasons, I decided to run for the Chemung County Legislature. Thank you. And I live in one of the districts in the city of Elmira where there's more registered Democrats than there are Republicans. And so many so that I feel it's my responsibility to get them all out to vote, because there's so many of them that if we do that across the city of Elmira, it kind of cancels out whole counties out west. So to do that, I announced that I was running for office in March. Between March and June 9th, when petition season started, I hand-delivered 200 thank you notes to super voters, people that vote all the time. Then from petition season, which was June 9th to July 9th, me and working with several other campaigns and volunteers handed out literature and knocked on over 500 doors of registered Democrats in the 12th district of Chemung County. In the primary on June 26th, when the numbers came back from the Board of Elections, when you compared the two primary races in 2012 and 2018, the voter turnout in the 12th district of Elmira doubled. There was a direct correlation between the districts, or the election districts that people live in, and the doors that we knocked on. If you want people to vote, you need to go out and knock on their doors. All of them, more than once. I'm running on an independent line. They gave me all of the unaffiliated voters and all of the left-leaning registered voters in my district. That's 1,600 people. Between July 9th, or July 12th and August 12th, my job and the volunteers that help me is to knock on every single one of their doors, and some of their doors more than once. And as I've done since the beginning, since the first door that I've knocked on, it's not just knocking on the door for me. It's knocking on the door for me for a campaign for Chemung County Executive. It's carrying literature and carrying the petitions for people running for state senate and carrying their literature. It's carrying somebody who's running for attorney general, and someone who's running for governor, and someone who's running for lieutenant governor. And then a reminder before the primary to get out and vote in which candidate I was supporting. And after the primary was over, knowing that I was going to have to get those signatures, the first call that I made was to Tracy's office and saying, hey, I'm going out and we're going to hit 1,600 doors and we're going to drop off literature at each one of those doors and talk to those people that open their doors. And we want your stuff to go with it. Because it's about credibility. You have credibility with your neighbors. Tom Reed doesn't have credibility with my neighbors. You know how I know? I've knocked on their doors. I told him when he called me an extreme, arrogant liberal, when I called his office the next day, that he won't be welcome in my neighborhood anymore. It's part of the reason I'm running for office. So to tell you how good it's going, I've been approached by several different people who have told me that I trust that the County Republican Party has told the incumbent that they're not giving him any money and they're not helping him because it doesn't matter what he does, he's going to lose to me in November. If you want to get out the vote, if we want to win, you need to make knocking on doors a priority. You need to think about how many people you can get to go out to vote. And it's as simple as knocking on their doors and saying hello, and you're not alone. And this is when you need to go vote. And hopefully you'll vote for Tracy and the rest of the people that are on the ballot down below. Thank you.
I kind of wish Pete was running here for something. It's my pleasure to introduce the next gentleman. I had the pleasure of meeting all the candidates. Ian did something that was really interesting. He's an avid runner, so he ran in our district. He's also a small business owner, so he knows how tough it is here in the Southern Tier economically to survive. And I think, you know, when we hear about their opponent, some people say, well, you know, he's been there, he's qualified. But he's never been amongst the people. And he's there, quite honestly, for special interests. So I just think all 5 of these people need to be thanked just for having the foresight and the courage to run. So I just want to introduce Ian Gold.
Hello, Olean. How's it going? So looking out there, good group of people. I see faces from Yates County, from Chautauqua County, from, I believe, Ontario. Stu Ben, I believe. Stu Ben in the house?
Yeah.
Stu Ben is representing Chemung. Chemung is in the house. Look around, it's really people coming together to move us forward. I see Abby and Nick in the house. Say hello, Abby, Nick. Keep an eye on them. Make sure they're not stealing any Tracy Matrano signs out there. Keep an eye on that. But here we are collectively together to move things forward with so many real problems in the district, speaking among the people and the real challenges that we're facing, and any one of us stepping up to try to really rein the very real problems in that we have and where we go with those. So if we look around the district, collectively we're continuing to lose our youth. We lose our opportunities. Some of the good jobs that we have in the manufacturers and our unions, our teachers are under attack. Our real wages are lower than they were since the 70s. Environment is threatened on many fronts with toxic algae in a lot of our waters, emissions crisis that's at a check. A healthcare system that's broken, with us paying 10 to 15% more a year in premiums for less coverage, medications that cost 10, 20 times what they cost in Canada. The division in our community is just toxic at this point. I don't know why, but I found myself reading through a Facebook thread last night that was going into the current sign in the news issue. And just reading through the vitriol and the misinformation that's really out there. And that really speaks to where we're at. And what we all need is to really do what Peter said, is to really go out there and have those genuine connections. That we're not going to find them on Facebook, that chances are we're not going to find them over the phone, that we're not going to galvanize our youth, that we're not going to get people to the polls unless we really get out there and knock on doors. For me, myself, I really enjoyed those genuine conversations that I had in literally thousands of doors on this campaign trail. The one-on-one connections where you can actually make changes, have really constructive dialogue. That's what we all need. So it'll take all of us not just committing our own time to do that, but to find others to do it on behalf. And to work with the candidate that we've all chosen, selected to carry the torch forward for us, Tracy Matrano. An expert in her own right in business, on somebody that's really committed to fighting for our communities, fighting for infrastructure, fighting for internet. Who's committed to working for a Medicare for All platform to really upend where we are in healthcare, who's really committed to the environment, who's now committed to keeping hydraulic fracturing out of our communities and working for renewable energy possibilities. All of these things we have in our chosen candidate, and a candidate that galvanized an amazing base, over 5,100 signatures and petitioning. A lot of you out there are committed, dedicated supporters that knocked on also thousands of doors, made the calls, were out there, and demonstrated the coordination that we really need in a candidate. So to all of you, to Tracy and for all of her supporters out there, thank you for all of the work that you've done so far. For all of you being here, we've got a lot of work to do. We can do this together. Congratulations to you, congratulations to Tracy, and let's move this ship forward. Thanks.
Okay, if you haven't noticed, all 5 of these candidates would have been a much better pick. So let's continue on. Eddie Sundquist. He's a local guy from Chautauqua County. He works here as a lawyer in Olean and Jamestown, but he also was a teacher prior to becoming an attorney. And I just think Eddie has the passion, and he just was so passionate about talking to people about the lack of the economic development here in our communities in the Southern Tier. Yes, we are at the far end of the state, but we shouldn't be forgotten. So Eddie Sundquist.
Thank you. It is absolutely incredible to see all of the people that are here today, and to see that we, A, have nice weather, and we'll actually say thank you to Tracy for that. If it rains, we'll blame Tom Reed. So thank you all for being here and for supporting. It's been over a year that we've all been running, that we've been putting our heart and soul into a campaign that said we're ready to make change. We're ready to see real change in this district. And it starts with Tom Reed. It starts with making sure that we get him out of the office, because we don't see one thing he's done to support us here in the Southern Tier. As Dora said, it was a long year, in some cases year and a half. And we've got to meet all of you personally. And that has been one of the greatest joys of running. Because you go to the doors, you see people, and you meet them. You meet their kids, their families, their dogs in many cases. And it's an incredible experience. And it does not replace the fact that we know your stories. We know the problems that are going on here in this district. And as Democrats, we are proud to start to fight to make some real change here in the Southern Tier. I'm proud to have been part of that. And I'm even prouder as a Democrat to say we have come forward through a primary, and together we have all picked a candidate that's going to lead us forward. Tracy Matrano. I'll tell you what, one of the greatest things that we have here in this district, and it actually rings true because there's a lovely woman holding a sign over here that says resist. The one thing that we're really good about doing here in this district is resisting, never laying down, and you know what? Putting up a fight. Because if we want to take back what's ours, if we want to take back our communities, we will need to fight. And it's a long, hard battle to November. But I'll tell you what, the more Tom Reed decides to call us extreme liberals, or even extreme, I'll tell you what, he ain't seen nothing yet. So I'd like you to join me not only congratulating Tracy, but recognizing that this primary had one of the highest turnouts in voters of Democrats that we have ever seen before in this district, and that's because all of you. So a round of applause. We're not done yet, and I think we're all proud to stand behind Tracy and the Democratic Party as we move forward. And there are good things to come from all of us. And because of you, we've gotten that support, that love, that heart. So thank you, and we're not done. On to November. Here we go.
Okay. I feel like we're having an audition up here. But you know what? It's great to see how many talented, educated, and people that have feelings for other people that ran in this primary. And they should all be proud of themselves. Next, I would like to invite Max Delapito. Excuse me. He's a 30-year Air Force officer. He's an attorney. He was a congressional aide that worked with both Democrats and Republicans. He decided to get motivated to run because he attended a Tom Reed town hall and decided that someone with this kind of experience needed to run against this guy. And he was absolutely right. Max?
Thank you, Linda, and thank all of you for being here. I'm looking forward to November because we are going to take back that seat from Nick's boss. Where'd he go? Is he hiding?
Who's hiding?
He should be. Okay. I'm reading a book right now. It's by Eric Metaxas. Anybody heard of If You Can Keep It? Have you ever heard of that? It's a quote from Ben Franklin. And he talked about this republic. If we want to keep it, this is not the type of government that allows us to go to sleep at the switch. We need to be involved. And you people have done just that. And I'm proud of you. Give yourself a hand. This republic is a promise to the future and to the other countries of the world. And we are, not we, but there are some people in this country that are asleep at the switch, and we need to wake them up, and you can do that, like Peter said, by going to their door, talking to them, and finding out what they need, and tell them the answer is right over here. Tracy Matrano is going to take it to November, and we are going to win this district. So Eddie mentioned the fact that he spent a year of his life doing this. So did I. So did Ian. And if you look at just the people who ran, it's literally man years or women years, and it's significant. It's significant to us and our families. But if you extrapolate that and you consider who of you volunteered to call and knock on doors, raise your hand. How many of you voted? You all raised your hand. This is something, if you look at all the networks that we have combined and how many people have worked already to get us to this point where we got the best turnout in history for the primary, we can do so much more as we go forward, and I know you can do it. We need to consider all the options, knocking on doors, getting on phones, stuffing envelopes, whatever Tracy needs. Because if we don't, all that we've done so far is for nothing. So let's put our shoulders to the wheel and let's get this thing moving. Let's take this to November and let's beat Tom Reed.
Okay, I know you've been waiting patiently. I could read Tracy's bio, but I'm sure you've all read them in the flyers. She's more than qualified. She's well educated. She cares about people. She cares about women's issues, which is a big deal this year. I mean, I'm sure all of you agree with that. But you know, I think some people are always afraid of a woman running. I've been there and done that, and you can win. But I think But you know, it takes work. It takes knocking on doors. It takes talking to your neighbors. It takes talking to a relative that hasn't voted in 10 years. You know, they don't expect those people to show up. Help them. You know, just nudge them along. Take them to the polls. If you have a neighbor that's elderly that doesn't feel well, ask for absentee or take them on the election day. Drive them there. That's perfectly okay. But if we don't do it now, when's the time? Our country is in this downward spiral. I don't know about you, but every time the news is on, I leave the room. It's scary what we have going on in Washington. We have, thank you. We have an inept Congress that hasn't accomplished much of anything. And we need some new blood there, and we want Tracy McFarland.
Good afternoon, Olean. Yeah. And Chautauqua. And all of Cattaraugus and Allegheny. I see you here. I see Steuben in Ontario. We're Seneca. We're Seneca. We're all together. We're Seneca. I see Yates and Tompkins and Tioga. And it's great to be here and celebrate. I am humbled by the support that you have given to all of us, and in particular to this event, Citizens for a 23rd. Yes, a better 23rd, and it's going to be better after we take November this year. I also see representatives here from Reed Free 23 and Your 23. You did a fantastic job raising money, and we are grateful for it, and I pledge we will use it to the benefit of everyone who's here and everyone in this district who wants to see putting people first. Thank you. I am humbled by the number of people we all got out, to double the number the last time we had a primary. And we're going to show that same kind of dedication, commitment, and return at the polls on November 6th. Absolutely that. Are you with me on that? Are you going to be there? Are you going to bring those people out to vote for the Democratic Party and the Working Family Party and the Women Equality Party? The women are coming. And so are the men, and so are the children of our beautiful, beautiful district. I am inspired by the leadership that all of the candidates in this campaign showed. Carl Worthington is right here. He brought real heart to this campaign. He showed compassion in a way that we have never seen from Congressman Reed, and we will never see from Congressman Reed. He's had 8 years to show it, and we haven't seen it. It's time to move on. I want to thank Charles, who also was in this campaign and brought intelligence and analytic skills and an understanding of the economics. We are very, very grateful for his contribution. Thank you, Charles. I don't think you're here, but I hope you hear us. And it's all part of what has inspired us. I want to thank Eddie, who brought youth to this campaign and will continue to bring youth to politics in Chautauqua and the 23rd District for 40 more years to come. God bless you. Bring it on, Eddie. Bring it on. I want to thank Linda. I don't see her here, but she shone a light on health care in a way that we all need to see it. Tom Reed will never bring you Medicare for all. He will never bring you a single-payer system. He won't even support the reforms that we've tried to bring in the last 5-7 years or so. He'll knock it down every time. If I've ever heard of an extremist, it's Tom Reed on health care. And it's time to change that. It is time to change that. I was inspired by Ian's efforts throughout this district from the start of when I first began to look at this campaign. Nobody reached out into the corners that had not seen representation in light in areas of this district without his campaign going into it. He brought it. I don't know what he's going to do with this rest of his life, but please stay with us, Ian. We need you. We need that kind of energy. We need that kind of insight. He brought marginalized people and people who felt disaffected from politics. Those are the people we need to make a difference. Thank you, Ian. Max, what a hell of a campaign he put on. Scared the hell out of me. But really what we want to speak to is someone who has already served so many years in such a leadership position of military service, and not just in the United States, but all of the campaigns that he has been involved in militarily all these years, he could sit back, kick up the legs, have bonbons, but instead he chose to try to be here, to represent you, to speak for you on all of the issues that we're all talking about. Healthcare for all, economic development in this district, a good balance between the Second Amendment as well as health and safety in our schools and in our community as a result of gun violence. He was there on every issue. Thank you for representing us. Thank all of the candidates and all of you. I am deeply, profoundly touched by the support I have received throughout this campaign. And I want to thank my supporters from the bottom of my heart for the work that you did, listening, looking, thinking, talking, going out, walking the streets. I see people I walk streets with here, and I am so grateful to them, and I am grateful to all of you. And I want to extend that hope and gratitude to those of you who supported other candidates. I know I have to earn your trust, and it will be my heart and head work to do that throughout the rest of this campaign. I want you just as excited going to the polls on November 6th for the Democratic Working Family and Women's Equality Party lever that you're going to push as the excitement and hope that you brought when you pushed a lever for any of these candidates. Please, I want your trust. I want your vote. Call me, contact me, talk to me. If you're still not sure about something, I am here to share with you, because together we will march into November 6th and retire Tom Reed. Any differences that we have had throughout this primary, I step on the glass, we lay it to rest, and now we move forward. And you know why? Because we are unified by the issues. We are unified by healthcare reform that meets so many of the needs of the people in this district. If I talk to a farmer, if I talk to a gas station attendant, if I talk to anyone on this street randomly, almost exclusively the number one issue they shared with me that concerned them the most was healthcare and the tremendous costs. And I'm sorry, it simply must be said. To have a representative in Congress whose family business is medical bankruptcy, and bankruptcy is the number one cause of medical bankruptcy, is the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country. There's something wrong with that. If a law doesn't cover it, ethics does, and ethics will. And we must change that. It's just not right. I have dedicated my career life to higher education, and education in general has always been near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to share a story that covers both healthcare and education. The story of the kindergartner in Watkins Glen who comes back from lunch with a golf ball side protrusion in his cheek. He goes down to the nurse who looks inside, and every tooth in this boy's mouth is rotten. He's never been to a dentist. And he's in pain. They're obsessing. He's 5 years old. How can you concentrate? How can you teach when you are dealing with such need that can be met? We're the wealthiest country still in the world. But we've given 40% of our national wealth to the 1 and the 0.01%. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that is that boy who's never been to a dentist because there's not a Medicaid dentist in Schuyler County, and there's not a transportation system for his mother to take him to the nearest one 2 counties over in Broome, an hour and a half away. What's wrong with that? Everything. We are the wealthiest country in the world, and yet we treat people as if we are not. Let's change it. Let's change that tax code. Let's split those permanent and temporary tax relief.
Yes.
Let's bring back the estate tax to some degree so that the wealth that's been given up in the so-called trickle-down economics comes back into the public.
Yes.
Let's subject corporate tax to the promise and legal dedication that they must be under U.S. tax law and no offshoring.
Yes.
And bring those profits back to your employees, to your development, so you can bring in new employees. And because we're going to shift the burden of health care to a single-payer Medicare for all system, take it off the backs of small business especially, and take it off the backs of big business so they can invest in you, in the workers. I can't believe we live in a country that expects people to pay healthcare premiums and doesn't even give them a living wage.
Yes.
For my goodness, you think it would be one or the other, but neither. Let's have a living wage for working people. Bottom line, let's reform labor laws so that we can expand the work families that we bring into labor unions. I come out of work in IT. I've been watching it for 15 years. That area has mushroomed tremendously, but there's only a small percent of them that are in unions. Let's bring them in. They need representation too. They need collective bargaining too. They need to be part of a vibrant working and middle class movement that has been the union movement in the United States for 100 years and plus. And bring back our unity. I'm not sure I'm getting all that. At the end of my remarks, if I've left someone you care about out, bring it on. All right. I want to now speak about the internet. Many times people said to me, don't talk about the internet, it's so abstract. No one really knows what you're talking about. What connection does that have to anything in people's lives? Let me tell you everything. It has every connection. It's how our young people learn. It's how our farmers farm. Whether it's dairy, whether it's fruit, whether it's vegetables, it's how our farmers farm. It's how our teachers teach. It's how our libraries exist and grow. And it's how we bring internet, new businesses into this district. Those are good jobs. Let's open it up with labor reform. Let's bring the internet where it should be. Here in the 23rd district, we want 21st century jobs in the 23rd district, and that's how we're going to bring it. Now, I understand Mr. Reed has sent out a postcard recently sharing with his constituents the work he's doing on the Farm Bill in order to bring you the internet. I took a look at the numbers on it, and just quick back of the envelope thought, it might bring robust enough broadband service to one county in this district. Not 11. And guess what? That Farm Bill is not one of those place-based policies for the 23rd district. Guess for whom that Farm Bill applies?
Who?
The whole United States. And he's expecting the amount of money that he's saying is in this Farm Bill to fix the broadband problem we have in the 23rd district for the entire United States. These are the kinds of slippery use of terms and numbers and statements we must guard against throughout this campaign right up to November. So if you hear Mr. Reed's office telling you he's going to fix the internet, check it out, because my calculation working in that area is for the whole country, not a chance. It might satisfy one county in our district. It's simply not enough, Mr. Reed. It's not enough, and we don't trust you to bring anything more. We'll do it ourselves. We'll vote in the kind of representation that will get this district what it needs to be economically vibrant, to bring jobs, good jobs, to this district. Are you ready to stand up? I want a representative in Congress that when we see what happened in Charlottesville, to stand up and say that's not right. I want a representative that when he or she learns about a child with every tooth abscessing in his or her mouth will stand up and say that's not right. Farmers I've talked to want a representative. When they call him, he calls back. Farmers, dairy farmers, small family dairy farmers in this district want a representative who will help them because they are in a severe crisis. With the payments they're getting from the cooperative, Dairy Farmers of America, they send notices of whom to call if you're having suicidal thoughts. And that representative of ours does not stand up and say, USDA, we helped small dairy farmers in the 80s. Let's help them now. Let's see what we can do for them. I want a representative who, when he hears about children being separated from their parents at the border and being put in cages, what do you want him to do? Stand up. And I want all of us to stand up. 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 So guess what else is in that farm bill in addition to the pittance for broadband deployment? Yes. The mechanism that Republicans across the board are trying to bring in to further deny people basic health care, food, medical care, whether it's in Medicaid or Medicare, these new work requirements. Guess what? It already has work requirements. This is a ruse. This is just a way to knock people off and to say that SNAP and food stamps are no longer anything that we need to support in this country. Are you kidding? We've got 40% on average of children in this district on free and reduced lunch. I want a representative who, when he or she hears that, will say, stand up. There's something wrong with that. I've been to the food bank here in Olean. I've been to the food bank in Chemung. People being food insecure, medically insecure, the housing crises that we have in the larger cities of Jamestown and Dunkirk and Elmira, Ithaca, Geneva. We need a representative who's going to stand up.
Stand up.
And I need you to stand up starting today. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up, because we're going to work all the way to November, and we're going to get Tom Reed out of office and someone who puts people first, and I pledge to you, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put people first. I'm going to be sure that we're secure nationally. Can you believe what's going on in the foreign policy? Why don't we just hand it over to Russia?
What they're doing. Stand up.
Do you know that intelligence sources in this country have estimated that the Russian military and their associates have touched every computer on our networks? That's not a crazy thought. Look it up. Do you want a representative who is going to support a president who closes a border to people running from poverty and abuse and war and drugs, separating the children from the parents, and yet open the door to one of our most historical adversaries. This doesn't make sense. We've got to stand up. We have got to stand up. We are proud of this country. I'm proud of this country. I know you're proud of this country. And we want a country that has accountability in politics, strong national security, and is a democracy as you're showing here today. Stand up, people. Let's go to November 6th. Let's reach every door. Let's touch every constituent. Let's be there for each other and stand up. Thank you. And thank you.
Tracy, don't sit down. Come back. Karen Ash would like to present you with something.
Thank you. Well, I never wanted to follow that kind of a speech, and I won't take long to tell you that I'm here to represent all of the people in the 23rd District who wanted to support whomever it was that was going to vote Tom Reed out of office. We didn't know who it was going to be. It could have been Ian, could have been Addie, could have been Max, could have been Linda. Will be Tracy. And those people put their money where their hearts are. And in 6 months, raised a small sum for the nominee. Now we know who it is, Tracy. So I would like, on behalf of the constituents of the 23rd District, to present a check for $21,880 from you to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank all of you. With these funds and with your contributions, we can make our case to the DCCC that we're a targeted race. With these funds and with your help, we can make the case to Emily's list. We are a targeted race, and in that vocabulary, that means they'll come to help. And we want their help because we want Tom Reed out. Thank you.
Okay, there are a lot of people that think that this flag is not our flag, but it is. And what you're doing today is democracy in action, and what you've done all through this primary season. So I'm going to ask you to do something that a very beloved general that I admired his whole career. His name was Dutch Heiser. He was the commander of the Air Mobility Command. And at every function, he asked the people to rise and sing with him. And the song is God Bless America. Will you do that with me right now?
Yes.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her with the light from the night from above. From the mountains to the valleys, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless you all. God bless the United States of America. And let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Here you go, Tracy.
Well, I just had an announcement. I just learned something I want to share with all of you. Yesterday, former Congressman and Lieutenant Governor Stan Lundeen endorsed our campaign. And again, he would have endorsed any of us, but we're so grateful that he is putting his shoulder to the wheel behind the Democrats in the 23rd District. And now I am thrilled to tell you we've just received the endorsement of Senator Gillibrand. We're getting closer, 23rd, and it's going to keep coming. Stay tuned. It's going to keep coming. Thank you, Linda.
Okay, folks, let's keep this energy going. what I want you to do, there's tables over here from different counties with information. There's table to sign up to help Tracy. There's a table over here that have water and cookies that were provided by the Citizens Action Committee of the Southern Tier. And also, I just want you to keep in mind the last 5 words of that pledge: liberty and justice for all. Let's go get it.